Sahana Vavatu, Sahanao Bhunaktu, Sahaviryang Karavavahai, Tejasvina Vadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I wonder, have you ever found yourself logging in to an online session, sitting down on your chair, becoming ever so naturally curious for the session to begin, only to ever so naturally find yourself already in the session before even realizing that it began? Like the session with Krishna, when he, as the Lord, walked up to Karna to help him to see that he still has a chance to go back to the Pandavas. So Krishna had a desire, by the way. Krishna is the wise person. A wise person has desires to reach out, to help, to provide assistance. And he came to Karna and he said, look, son, you still have a chance. It's not too late. You can either join the Pandavas and be helped by that and change your entire career, or you can stay with Duryodhana and be loyal to him. I just want to offer you a way out. I have enough clarity, said Krishna, to see that there is an option for you that is much better, more healthier than the one that you are choosing to take right now. And Karna thought about it. He assessed the pros and cons. He thought, what if I stay with Duryodhana? What if I go with Pandavas? And by whatever reason, he chose to stay where he's at. Krishna was rejected. The Lord of the universe, who knows everything, with all power, with all clarity, was rejected. So the Lord could not convince you to take the right decision. He was right in front of you. He instructed you. He gave you the way out, and you chose to not do anything about it. The Lord then turned around and he continued his way, doing what he has to do. He said to himself, I did my part in this vast cosmos. Karna was given a possibility. He did his part. Now, this section of the Mahabharata tells us something very interesting. Firstly, Krishna symbolizes God. God is not an entity that forces you to make decisions. He is not puppeting you to go through a hard time, to which then you say, you see, this is my fate. This is a thinking that is not true and it has to go. Lord is someone that offers you possibilities. Even now, you're offered the possibility to listen, to tune in, to tune out. And the Lord doesn't get upset. He's always been offering you possibilities, even today and tomorrow, to the last breath. It's never too late, he said to Karna. He said to Karna, you have had a life where you have been rejected by society. You felt like an outcast, maybe out of place, maybe different, maybe odd, maybe weird, maybe unaccepted, maybe too intelligent, maybe too good for the society to even recognize you. That's your path, Karna. But don't let your path turn you into someone that disregards the reality, because the reality wants to help you, wants to be with you. And so Karna simply chose to say no. he equally had a chance to say yes. So we can, through this example, see that there's no one out there who's puppeting you. You're not controlled by some invisible force. There is certainly an influence of the environment, of your conditioning, right, of the media, of what your parents have told you. There is certainly conditioning of that. But more so than that, there is your own capacity to say yes. How much yes? How often do I want to say yes? How do I want to look at what has happened? How do I choose for this to affect me? Do I allow it to affect me? And in what way will I let it affect me? The Lord is offering you possibilities all the time. You just have to acknowledge that, be grateful, and take advantage for that to help yourself. So this means that additionally, Krishna, being wise, also had a certain personality. You couldn't tell he's a wise person. If Vyasa came up to Karna, it will be the same story. As far as the clothing is concerned, it's just clothing. You can't say anything about the clothing and a person's knowledge. In fact, there is not one characteristic that defines who is a sthita prajna, not one. You can be an introvert, an extrovert, be working from home, have kids, be single, be married, have pets, not have pets, choose to live in a hut, choose to have a big house, what car you drive, how many family members you're surrounded by, how many kids you want, what kind of food you eat, what are your hobbies, what music you listen to. You can't say that someone who listens to heavy metal is not a sthita prajna. That's just their preference. It's a weird preference. I know that would even challenge me. So you have to investigate a little bit there. However, the important part is that we cannot tell who is a wise person. The only way that you can tell who is wise, who has understood the truth, is you alone know it. And what do I mean by this? If I tell you now, do you know that, suppose I'm speaking to the female, you know that you are female, I am female, and I speak to the male, and you say, I am male. There's no doubt about that. It's so obvious. It's so silly to even bring it up that I am female, that I am now breathing air. I am now alive. Do you even say that? You don't say that because it's so obvious that those things that are obvious, that are without a doubt, you have no need to verbalize it or to even bring it up because it's just so obvious. So in that same way, who is wise? The one who knows. And what do I mean, the one who knows? The one who knows self as that which is the truth of everything. From the moment from which no more doubts arise at all. It's simply not the case anymore. At some point before the Upanishads or the knowledge came into your life, you were always wondering, but what about Buddha? What about Christ? What about these, amazing sages? And they were someone that you looked up to, if you remember those times. You do, right? You do remember those times where there were these beings in your life that you cherished and you honored and you looked up to, and they were everything to you. And you wondered, I wonder what does he or she have? What kind of a world are they in now? I wonder. And then your mind even took you out for a spin. And then you imagined them being in some part, in some reality. And their body is now just like a puppet. It's just doing things. And they're somewhere else. Their body now is just now left as a carcass, a moving carcass, doing its little part. And you went for the whole journey about what a wise person is. So you didn't know. You couldn't quite put the right accurate description of a wise person. And then maybe we even looked for signatures. What are they wearing? How do they carry themselves? How do they speak? How old they are? What is there? Are they gender? What gender? Only males, only females. Okay, so we put a lot of labels onto the wise person. And there comes a time when the person grows up spiritually, mentally, and you drop all of these one by one, not at once, but you drop them one by one. And you realize that all of those notions that you thought about who is wise, the desireless one who has no desires, that's not true. Because, like we said with Krishna, he had a desire to reach out. In fact, the whole Mahabharata is nothing but desire after desire, because you have to handle situations as they come up. That is a desire to handle it. So this means when the knowledge comes and the Gita reassures you that it's okay, you can have desires, you can still live a life as you wish. It doesn't define your knowledge at all. Because if you know yourself to be the truth of all things, then it doesn't matter where you go, whether you travel, whether you don't travel, whether you want to be introverted or extroverted. You see? So the whole complex, the spiritual complex, it simply falls away. No longer do I have to carry a stick and look like I'm a spiritual being wearing beads and special clothing and, putting this brand on my forehead. I am spiritual. This had its place, but it all falls away little by little. And this is in certain areas very prevalent, in Byron Bay, for example, in Ubud, Bali, in where else could we say? Tirumavalai, right? Arunachala. Tons of Westerners there, all branded with spiritual clothing. Every one of them. I went when I think 2 years ago with is Rani here? She's not here. So anyway, I went with Rani and Robert. Robert used to be in this class. He passed away, and but we had one student who passed away. Amazing, right? So we have quite a relationship, long time. And we went there and we saw this, huge marketplace of people, of seekers. So, and it reminded me of, when I was there also many years ago before, when I used to look at this place, this mountain as this majestic thing, Ramana as this person on a pedestal. Remember those times when you just looked at these amazing figures, like you just put them mentally on a pedestal? And I went there 2 years ago, and I just had no connection to it at all. It was just a mountain. Like, I don't belong here at all. There's nothing here for me. Zero connection. Kind of like putting you in a playground of toys, Lego toys. You're like, nice, but anything better? Go. So I hope you relate to me what it means to progress spiritually, like how the Gita can change you significantly to the point where it's not like you're looking at in a condescending way. It's just that you grew out of it. And thereby, the wise person can be anyone. So let's not have this complication about how I am supposed to be to prove to myself that I have understood the knowledge. This narrative must go out. Okay. So speaking of, oh, happy Mother's Day. I have to tell my mom. Okay. Yes. What?
Yeah,
Gautam?
yeah, Andre, I was just, because before you progress, just one thing.
Yeah.
Like from what Krishna did, reaching out to Karan, from his action, we are saying that he had a desire. But shouldn't we just say it was a desireless action? He was just doing his part without any desire of an outcome.
Yeah,
He
good,
was
good.
just doing.
Yeah, you could say that. So indeed, it's not to see because it's like you go up to me, Gautam. So you go up to me and say, Andre, this is not healthy for you. I went through the same stage and, it's not healthy for you. And, you're just sort of wanting to help. You want to reach out and help me out. It's an empathy. It's natural, way to communicate and to see me as a healthy human being. So you're coming from a goodness of your heart. So in that sense, you also understand that if I choose to quit or not, then, right, that's my thing. You can't really force me, right? So in that sense, Krishna had this reaching out to help but understanding that even if you show as your best, even if you learn all of the knowledge that helps another individual. Suppose you get mastery in psychology, biology, science, astronomy, Vedanta, Sanskrit, and on top of that, you can sing, you can do some juggling, and you want to teach or present and genuinely reach out to an audience. Remember, you are a master at linguistics, at grammar, at putting words together. You're able to draw the audience in and move their hearts. You're able to create significant, nuanced changes in people without them even realizing it. So they don't even get a chance to resist you. They just walk out transformed unknowingly. So you really have mastered your strategy, how to communicate and persuade. Now, there's an audience waiting for you, and someone says, please give them a 10 or a 20-minute speech. You begin, and people walk out. Maybe 10, suppose 50 come in, 10 walk out, 15 walk out, 20 walk out. Should you take that personally? See, the point is, you can be the greatest of the greatest. Krishna was amazingly intelligent, smart, charming, and still he was hated by characters throughout the story. This means no matter how perfect you get it, it doesn't stand to reason to be obsessed over what is to happen and how it's to happen. You see, even if you come from the best of your intentions, genuine, authentic, even then, someone will walk out on you. Someone will say something that may not be keeping with what you wanted to hear. Because you think that I don't deserve this. I've devoted my life to creating significant change to a person's network of complications. I want to untangle it. And you come with those best intentions, no agenda, because you've sorted yourself out completely, or at least relatively well. Even then, people will not like you. They will not tell you what you want to hear. Even then, they will walk out on you. So this means you can't afford to take things personally because everyone comes with their own complications. For all you know, that person could be saying something and you may misinterpret it. Maybe someone's going to walk out because they just got a, sore tooth and they have to go to the doctor quickly. So you can't now interpret that as, oh, it's me, right? Something's wrong with my delivery. So this means what Gautam is saying is that, yes, you can do the best that you can, planning at least 5 minutes planning before going to a meeting, right? And you at least prepare, like, here's what I want to talk about. I don't want to just it to be a waste of superficial talk. Let's talk about some, deeper questions of life. Let's bring a game into, a conversation, some fun game to bond us together, right? And you do that. Even then, you just don't have that final say in how it's going to end up when you walk out of the door. You don't know what the other will think, what they will think of you, how they will interpret your words, and what they will even do with it. But you can for sure know one thing, is that there is no action that goes wasted. You always leave a mark, whether you know it or not. It's just a matter of time for your words, your delivery to create some nuanced change in the other person. You won't be there to observe that, but you have to at least acknowledge that, see, you would love to be there, right? And go, yeah, I made a change. You see, me. So you would love to do that. But that's not how time works. Time takes, flower takes time to blossom. If I force it and I want, come, petal, come, and I pick it too, I stroke it too early, it falls off. So this means that all I can do is just appreciate, through my appreciation, deliver the best that you can, but knowing that you cannot afford to take results personally because there are too many variables that are causing that situation to be in the manner that it is. Okay? It could be, for example, the weather. You know, one day the person says, you know, I love you, right? Tomorrow they say the same thing, but because the weather is hotter and the sun is shining, they really mean it now because of the sun. But yesterday it was cloudy and murky. You know, it was I love you, but you know, it was not so much. There's no oomph. There's no ooze, not ooze, oomph, or whatever you call it, right? There's no energy behind it. So any moment, right, you have to understand that there are far too many variables that are contributing to the response that the world gives you, or your child gives you, or your brother, or your mom, or your dad gives you. Okay? So for this reason, the question then comes is knowing what I now know, that it's impossible to be in complete control of the result of my sincere effort to deliver. How do I choose to deal with things when they do come up and they are not keeping with my expectations? What will be my fallback, which will keep me upright and consistent with my knowledge, which will not shake me off my center? How would I have to think about the situation so that in a manner of speaking, I'm able to continue to do my delivery in the world, right? Without being too greatly chopped off or, you know, buzzed out. I'm trying to use new words in this session. Buzzed out by the happening of the event. Okay, so you have to figure that out, and it's a requirement of your creativity, isn't it? Because often it is easier to take comfort in what we've done before. Okay, so there's a tendency to just draw from the past and right and put it in the present. So it takes some time to think of a new kind of a way of thinking. Now, Gautam has said the word AI. You said AI. Suppose you want to go out, and the question then comes is, okay, I've listened to spirituality or Vedanta for a year. I need some help to bring this knowledge and see the presence of Ishvara in the waiter, in the plate, in the person that I'm going to meet, in the food. In what way can I make this experience more devotional today, right? Going to see my friend. Then what you can do is you can, you know, ask on my website now, I put this little AI button on the top right, and it's indexed a lot of great, you know, fantastic knowledge. And you can ask, I'm going to a restaurant or I'm going to meet my friend. Um, how should I think about this in a way that brings out Ishvara in all things? Something like that. Or I'm going to work tomorrow. Tell me 5 ways how to think about my workplace that is keeping with the knowledge of Vedanta. You will love it, I think. You will have great tips. I've already done it myself, right? And it's just fantastic. It shows you, for example, hey, recognize that the very air that you'll be breathing in the restaurant is Ishvara. Don't forget that. That will be your reminder. So when you ever feel lost, like where is Ishvara? Where's the Lord? Where's the Lord? Hey, just remember the air you're breathing is the Lord. How much more do you want than that? It's the closest thing, the most available thing. That will be my reminder. I am now ready. Go to the restaurant, go to see my friends. And while I'm talking, you know, I get lost in a conversation, in the jokes, and I go, Lord, this is Lord in front of me. Small thought like that is enough to, as I said at the beginning, exponential growth. One thought and another thought, you just have to take some little effort. Okay, so the reason I'm bringing this up is that for this very reason, right, these tools are available and you can use them to help you to bring divinity, especially in those times when you just don't have the time to look up on the site and, you know, let me see session 45, right? It's just too long. I get how life is. So you just need a quick, snappy list of things. How do I look at the world in a new way, in a new, fresh way? And then you bring that knowledge in that place, And that causes your mind to make a connection, right? So slowly, slowly, it's no longer just the mall or the shopping center. Now I'm starting to see the presence of, intelligence in all things, the karmic connections, in all things. So that's one possibility. Okay. Now, what I'm saying so far is exactly what verse 71 wants to say. And Krishna is going to use the word peace. And what I will do is I will divide this word peace into relative peace and then absolute peace. Vihaya kaman yak sarvan umam charati nihsprahaha nirmamo nirahankaraha sashantim adhigachati.
Having given up all binding desires, the person who moves around, devoid of longing, without the sense of limited I and mind, gains peace.
Without the sense of mind and I, gains peace. So let me look at this word. Let us look at this word peace. And we'll divide this into two categories: relative peace or tranquility and absolute peace and tranquility. Now, when I say relative, I'm talking about at the level of your mind. And when I say absolute, I'm talking about knowing the final reality, that you are that very peace. So that's why it's absolute. Because when are you ever away from yourself? Tell me one moment when you're ever away from yourself. Never, right? So you are that very peace. That's why it's absolute. Now, with relative peace, see, the way that the Gita shows you the journey towards absolute peace is it has to take it step by step. You can't just go into absolute peace and talk about the final reality. It's too much for the mind. It's like talking quantum physics to a high schooler who hasn't yet gone through being an undergraduate and then, gotten some decent college degree. Okay, so you have to take it step by step. And in that same way, knowing your nature is Brahman, it doesn't happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight, as I said, the example with the flower. So what I sometimes hear is that people will say, if I am already that final reality right now, then why should I listen to this? What difference do any of these words make? If I'm already Brahman or awareness and nothing touches awareness, then what's the point of going through this knowledge? So, see, what did I initially say about when something is very obvious? When something is very obvious, you don't instigate a question. You don't bring up a question, nor do you make a comment about it. It's like saying, why do I have, why am I breathing right now? It's just obvious. You're breathing because you're breathing. You don't even need to answer that. So in that same way, when a person says, why do I need to learn this? Because I'm already full, whole, and complete. The question is, who is saying that? Who is asking that question? The very person who is yet to fully understand that. Otherwise, they wouldn't be saying that. Because as we said, when you know it, you don't say it. When you know it, you don't ask because it's obvious, it's evident. So by asking such a question, if I'm already whole and complete and nothing touches me, why should I learn this? And what difference will it make to my life? It's actually a waste of time, that question, because rather, instead of asking that, why not, one might suggest, get into the actual teaching to the point where it peels off the layers of the onion, where the question isn't even necessary to begin with. For example, somebody asks, hey, I know E equals mc squared, right? Simple. Energy converts into matter, and matter converts into energy. Let's go home, right? There, solved. Oh, what's the big deal? These scientists, they spent 20, 10 years onwards with all these whiteboard formulas. Look, I know this is so simple. Do you really think it's that simple? E equals mc squared, energy into matter, matter into energy. I don't even know what the word equal means. in their understanding. I don't even know what the word energy means, matter means. You see, so it's very easy to just turn this into an affirmation. I am whole and complete. I am Brahman. But the person doesn't know what is the word I, what the word Brahman is, what is awareness. So it's not as simple as just making an affirmation, I am whole and complete and nothing ever touches me. That is true 100% for the one that's understood. But the thing is, when an ignorant person says that, who is yet to get there, it's an entirely different matter. They might as well just speak a language that is alien language, right? It just makes no sense at all. There is still a person who is saying it. So this means that let's not get into this mode of, yeah, this is so simple. You know, the scriptures say I'm Brahman. Now I know it. You know, I've heard it and I can rest. There's so many nuances that have to be connected, and the brain has to make those associations for the full knowledge to take place. And this is important because, as we said, nothing happens overnight. But until complete knowledge takes place, we have what's called relative tranquility. We have to make our minds relatively healthy, our sense of I relatively healthy. And this is what, for instance, has been presented in chapter 2 that we've done so far, such as where is your locus of control, right? We said it's in the action. So therefore, understanding this, automatically, I am relieved from insisting the results have to occur in a manner that I desire. They have to be exactly as I desire. This simply leaves. Does that not give you tranquility, relative tranquility? I tell you, this is the biggest thing. If you were to analyze, people's general sense of discontent, and you ask them, why are you discontent? What's the cause? The biggest reason, if you get to the bottom of it, is that I want things to be in a way that I expect. I want them to be how I think they should be or shouldn't be, right? I want him or her to say it in this way and not that way. I want them to spend this kind of time with me and not that kind of time with me. I want you to look at me and, and say and acknowledge me and validate me in this way and not that way. So there's always rules that are set up that deny one from ever appreciating how things really are, because there's always one more chance that's going to show you that you haven't gotten what you want. It's almost like every situation reminds you, yeah, you haven't got what you want. So now if I let that become a weakness of mine or yours, then what happens is that every situation becomes a means for dissatisfaction, because no situation is ever going to match exactly what you want. So this means if you understand that reality is not made to please you, reality is just there to serve the needs of everyone. We all have to, share this world of this globe, and you have to make it through. So the world is not designed to specifically target you and make you happy. That's not how it works. But that is how the society has taught us, especially of today's Gen Z generation, where you have everything on the silver platter, you're entitled, you can just ask and it's there. Buy me a drink, 10 guys buy you a drink. You see this? And so it becomes this thing, just because I exist, I am therefore entitled for people to give me. Therefore, I must be special. On top of that, social media makes this even more prominent. What happens is, especially amongst the females, they post a picture on Instagram, which is what it's become today, just basically a selfie, show-off thing. You post a picture, and what happens? How many validations do you get from the world, from people that you will never meet or who will never show up at your funeral? You get hundreds of validations. And every single one of those likes, when the stars explode, that little sends a little dopamine hit in the brain. And you go, ooh, like, validation, oh, validation. every single time it trains you to love validation. So not only am I now at the mercy of getting validated by someone who will never show up at my funeral, that means I'm now also giving my power away to those people who I don't really care about. But also, you've demonstrated that validation comes too easy. And if someone doesn't give me validation, they are simply not worthy of my time. But the irony is, the one who has high value in themselves, they won't even give you a second look. Because the one who has high value in themselves, they see right through the makeup, right through the fake charm, what I call the 48 Laws of Power charm, if you read that book. Bestseller, 48 Laws of Power. How to gain power and unfair advantage in society. You see, the wise person who understands, who sees, who is of high value, who's confident, who carries themselves, who has a fallback, who is in connection with God, they see right through this nonsense. Therefore, by understanding a certain law that the world is not meant to validate you, it's not meant to make you, get this little goosebump and, put you on a platform, you become, ironically, quite independent, which is what real attraction is. You become independent. You develop your own unique identity. You see? An own identity, like she or he actually has their own uniqueness, their own individuality, which is the most attractive thing. So this gives us relative tranquility. What else does? What about the fact that nothing is permanent? You see, everyone will die. And there's always this fear at the background of being this person who will end someday, that my knowledge and my talents and my skills, all of it will end one fine day. So this means that as long as the person sees themselves as this, mortal, small being, it will drive their decisions in a corresponding fashion, that I need more for myself and, less for you, and so on. Does this not give you a level of peace? Even if you may not have understood this knowledge completely, still the Gita comes and says, like verse 22, just like the person, sheds off clothing, like you did your pajamas this morning, in that same way, self, in this case, the self, the jiva, doesn't mean Brahman, because Brahman doesn't shed anything. The self, that means the jiva, takes on new bodies, right? New bodies every life. Does this not give you at least some mental tranquility that you will never end? That means that even if one doesn't get it, let's be humble, right? Honestly, we don't know. Like, end of the day, you just don't know. So we cannot kind of go, oh, it's my last life. And even if you do know, still there's a certain humility and say, okay, this is fine. But at least I know that I will never go out of existence. And this gives you so much relative tranquility, where you say, it's okay, I'm not wasting my time here. I'm not, especially, when Krishna says in chapter 6, then don't worry, Arjuna, or was it chapter 2, I think, also chapter 6, even if this knowledge your identity doesn't shift to that which is you, permanent, even then you will form deep impressions that will never leave you. And those deep impressions will go a long way, exponentially, to connect you to the right person, to the right teaching, after your death. Okay, so this also gives you relative tranquility. What about dharma? We've spoken about in chapter 2. Dharma, we said, is flexible. It requires interpretation. Okay, see, suppose you think that dharma, I'm always supposed to get it right and say the right thing. How much can you truly live a peaceful life by thinking like this, that you're always supposed to say the right thing? And if you make one mistake, you're no longer wise. It's impossible. So chapter 2 comes in and says, dharma, that means ethics, what is the right thing to do? How is it to be done? Is actually requiring you to interpret it, because every situation requires a different response. For instance, you would think, don't hurt, right? That's why in self-defense, if one kills another person out of self-defense, they don't go to jail. So even though killing is adharma, in this instance, it's no longer a dharma because you protected your own life. So in that sense, it's right subject to interpreting by the right kind of mind. Or there was another example that shows this, where Yudhishthir came to Drona because Drona was, such a great archer, and he said to him that Ashwatthama is dead. And then under his, lip, under his little hand, he says, the elephant, not your son. But Drona didn't hear that. So Drona, because his son's name is Ashwatthama, thought, oh, my son is dead. So what happened? Drona lost the will to live, right? So he just put his arms down and he was beheaded. So why did Yudhishthir lie? He actually didn't lie, but right, the point is he kind of did some white magic, if you want to call it that, to make Drona drop his arms. Why? Because Drona is on a side that is right clearly causing the society to go into a fall, and he was unconquerable. So he had to do something. He had to use this kind of strategy to win on the right side. In verse 62 and 63, we talked about the process of losing oneself in from desire all the way into delusion or making the wrong choices. Do you remember this process? All the way from seeing, your eyes are open. Remember that board? Your eyes were open. Like, how do you lose yourself? How does the world take you or move you off your axis? First of all, your ears have to be open, right? You first have to see that fox on the other side of the street, right? You first see that dress. Oh, there's a dress. Oh, shoe. What about for men? A new bike, right? New quadri helicopter. Now what happens? Your eyes are open. You see that shiny object, and you get too long exposed to it. A little bit too long. I'm looking. Someone's trying to move your head. Nope. Come on, let's go. Nope. Right? So the more you look at it, what happens in your mind? It develops an impression. And that impression causes you, step 2, to become attached. So now I am attached. What does it mean? What does it mean to be attached to an object? You're attached because you thought about it for too long, right? You heard the same thing for too long. Just like when the election, right? Suppose a new prime minister wins, and then you see them speaking for 5 sessions or just 3 sessions. What happens? Now you already become entangled in it. There's a little bit of that, connection. You're now attached to the situation. Now, when you're attached to the dress or the trousers or the pants, you start to do what? Your mind kicks in and starts to imagine that being mine. Okay, so now imagine it being on me, and how good I'll feel about myself, and what kind of head turns I'll get, and how better my life will be, and what just generally how better your experience will be. So you start to imagine and postulate how that's going to happen. So now your mind is in a desire mode. I want it to be mine. It has to be mine. Now, when you think about it being mine, and that object is taken by someone else, suppose the last dress is purchased, and it just, that moment, have you ever had that moment where you wanted it, and someone just snatches it up? Yeah, were you like celebrating that moment? Like, yes, this is so awesome. No? How were you in that moment? You were definitely not celebrating. There was a little bit of an irk, a little thorn, a little prick, a stung, a bee stung, or a wasp. And it certainly didn't feel wonderful. So what happened? An emotion got the better of you. We call it anger. Now, anger is not just anger, but it could be disappointment, frustration, annoyance, or even the darker side of emotion, which is depression. I don't deserve, I'm not good enough. You see, God snatched it away from me. God doesn't want me to be happy. It's my fate. It's my karma that I'm not supposed to have this. And then the new age person comes in, and you know what they say? Oh, it's okay. Ishvara knows what's best for me. You know, I'm supposed to get this thing or a promotion. It's okay, I didn't get it. Ishvara knows what's best for me. My goodness, this is an overstated statement. Let me go back to the first example. Yes, Karna knew, yes, Krishna knew what's best for Karna, but Karna still had to choose. Okay? So it's not like, see, it's kind of like a coping mechanism, isn't it, that we use? I didn't get what I want. It's okay. It means I was never meant to have it. The point is you didn't get it. What now? What does a wise person do? They ask, what's next? How do I get it? You see? So we don't have to go into this thing of, you know, Krishna or Ishvara knows what is best for me. No, you know what's best for you.
But Andre, isn't it Prasad Buddhi? That is what is Prasad Buddhi.
Well, I mean, what's Prasad Buddhi? I don't know where you're getting at.
That you accept that, you know, that's what Ishwar wants it for you.
Sure.
Take it as a prasad.
Okay, but I'm saying, good. So even after you accept that this was not given to me, it doesn't then mean you stop there. So I thank the Lord for, you know, giving me this challenge to be thankful and to remember that the world is not there to serve me. You know, I still have to go out and get it. So even then you follow up and you have to do what you have to do. So sure, there is a certain gratitude, a certain, it is an offering, but that offering doesn't mean that I just kind of let it go and then say, this is not for me. It was never for me. Otherwise, if you lived like this, would you have gotten this far in life? That every time things didn't work out, you dismissed it and you said, no, it's okay. That was never for me anyway. Would you have gotten this far?
So it's like, you know, realizing that control the controllable. What is in your hand, you do your action. And what is circumstantial, which is not in your hand, leave it to the God, leave it to the Ishvara and accept it.
That has a place. Okay. Suppose now you want to build a business, and a business requires many steps. You have competitors, you have others who want to also sell the same product, and you have customers, ever-changing market trends. So, right, your Google #1 listing is today, tomorrow it falls down. Now you say, oh, it fell down. It's just meant to me. I'm thankful for God. It's Prasada Buddhi. Okay, that's fine. It has a place, no doubt. But in terms of empiricalness to work through, to make it through life, there is also asking the question, okay, what can I do about this? What is to be done about this to get back my site #1 or to, you know, get back my promotion or my job, because there's a certain level of practicality, pragmatism that has to be done. Okay, so it's not just one or both, it's both. Okay, it's both. That's what I want to say. So after now you have gone through this sting, well, you didn't get what you wanted. What happens then? Now, what initially started with the object, now the mind starts to create stories. It says, oh, you know, the economy is not good, and, you know, it's the fault of the people, it's the fault of the society, it's the fault of the boss. So look at this. You initially started from the pants or the trousers, and now you've got entirely different thoughts. Your mind has brought in different kind of thoughts that are totally unrelated to the pants. How did the boss get in? How did the society get in? How did God get in now? How did you know, my karma get in now? See, so the mind works through association. So this means that you're now at the stage of delusion. Delusion is negative self-talk, and you've totally derailed yourself from the original matter. And when one is at the delusion point, that means they're starting to criticize themselves, starting to criticize the other person. They're not good enough. It's not right. They're going to just fail, and I hope they fail, and all this nonsense, right? What happens? all your memory goes away. Your memory of the right things, the right conduct, it just kind of suppresses itself, right? Like, where's all of that experience that you have, that professionalism of dealing with a matter, understanding that the world is not there to give you what you want? Where is all of that? Where is the knowledge that this is also, I'm just one little, right, participant in this world. And I've crossed like traffic. I've crossed, incidentally, I've crossed paths with this other object. Like a traffic. Suppose you're driving and there's a little accident, just a little one. Do you know how many things actually took place for that accident to happen? Did it start in the morning? What caused that accident, right? That event. What caused that two cars coming together? What caused that? Let's think about this. Was it how they both woke up? What kind of coffee they had? What time they had their coffee? Was it the fact that a dog barked and it just distracted the person for 1 second and only then they started to travel with their car? Maybe if the dog didn't bark, they would have not caused the accident. When did it start, that accident? When did that cause of that accident start?
Could we say it didn't ever have a start because it's been going on forever, and it might not even have an end because I don't have the capacity to even know that.
Think about this. Even the Neanderthal, the way that we evolved as a thinking human species, if there was just one event, one less extinct, one meteorite that less crashed, and it didn't give chance for mammals to evolve to the point that we have evolved now and able to think in a way that we think now, that also contributed to how well a person is able to generally operate a moving vehicle. The weather certainly played a part. Maybe the baby started to cry in the morning, and then the husband had to go and tend to the baby for 1 extra minute, and only then he got into the car. When did that actual event, cause of that event, actually take place? You can't, as Arkiri said, you can't put a start to it. So now your life is exactly like that. What causes you to experience the events that you experience? See, can you really take it personally? Can you really take it personally? When did it all begin? So our mind tends to think so small and say, oh, I woke up and God is punishing me. It's totally not like that. There's so many participating variables that make your life, those events in your life, be what they are right now. Knowing this, does this not give you relative tranquility? That it's not so personal? That it's not about you here?
Judge, it is, but we judge things to be good or bad or right or wrong when we don't know what was before that or what's to come after or because of that.
Yeah, we judge in the moment, and that's the fall that we have for a moment. But at the same time, right, you can, bring this knowledge if you're available to it and say that it's not personal here. It's just not personal at all. I know it seems like it, but it's not personal. Just that little reminder there can go a long way, can just remove that heaviness off your shoulders and make you, elevate your intellect back into thinking mode. What needs to be done here? Michael?
I've got a question. So I'm understanding what the point is, but the flip side of that is, if you think about all of the events that have happened and taken place in the world for you to be here, for you to be in a stage of life where you're ready to understand or ready to partake of the classes, the knowledge, found a teacher, the gratitude that you can feel through that. I mean, it sometimes does feel personal, does feel like, it's the positive side it's the flip side of what you're talking about. I just wonder whether that's unhealthy thinking or is that healthy thinking?
I think what you're saying is that could you take it as a personal thing as long as it's helping you?
Yeah.
I guess
I guess so.
I guess,
Yeah.
yes, you could. If that is what's helping you, at least to remind you of the presence that you have, gone through a long journey, and by the decisions that you've made, have put you where you are. And therefore you can take some healthy pride in that, you know, you're doing the best you can, and Ishvara has connected you with the methodology, with the teacher, with the tradition, which is, you know, eternal. That is a big deal. So you can kind of, you know, accept that and, you know, acknowledge that, but still, you know, teaching goes on. So it's like a one moment. Thank you, Ishvara. Now let's learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So certainly you can do that to help you out. And we said also prasada buddhi. Prasada buddhi just means, as I call it, just what's next. Something happens. This is an opportunity to learn. If someone cuts you off or says something that's unpleasant or untrue, or, you know, it's not keeping with what you believe is the best fair thing to be done, then still, right, you can, that's your feedback system from the world. Why is it called prasada buddhi, by the way? Because imagine this. Suppose you, as a human being, you genuinely want to improve. You want to be a better person, right? Forget about philosophizing now, I'm already perfect. Just relative. You want to be a better person in the world, right? Okay, you want to do better, love more, you know, be more sensitive to realities, be more tuned in to yourself. And so, you know, your life is flowing, you know, a little bit, you know, smoother. So suppose, right, we can agree with that. Nobody wants to suffer, right? So we all want to find more joy, more happiness in our life. Okay. Now, suppose you have this, as we all do, and you never get feedback from the world that makes you question how to even attain that. Suppose you're just in that state of, I want a better life, I want a better life, I want a better life, but the world never throws you a challenge or some event that makes you question yourself and causes you to be motivated to refine your thinking. Suppose the world never gave you such feedback. Would you have ever advanced as far as you have right now? How could you? If you think about all of the advancements in our life were a product of world giving you feedback. Now, what's the world? It's nothing but Ishvara. You know, we often say, you know, Ishvara, talk with me, talk to me, please tell me what to do. Tell me, when is Ishvara not communicating with you through the events that happen in your life? That is Ishvara. So in that sense, it becomes prasada buddhi. I am grateful that Ishvara is always talking to me, showing me what needs refinement, what needs reassessment, what needs further development. In that sense, you have prasada buddhi, a gratefulness in your life. It is an opportunity to learn, to develop myself. That's prasada buddhi. Does that not give you some relative tranquility? You see how the situation hasn't changed at all? Only your attitude has. So all of these put together gives you relative tranquility. Now, why do you need relative tranquility in your life? Now, that's when Gautam's snake and rope comes handy. Because if you are at the level of the snake, funny how I had this already prepared, right? If you're at the level of the snake, then, okay, so this is the world, this is the rope, okay? And the world is the empirical world, the world that you and I commonly agree with, right? We talk about the weather, right? We talk about the table, the stuff. We talk about pain, right? That's an empirical reality. Now, if I am at the level of the snake and I am in my little head and, you know, through prejudices and subjectivities and projections. So do I really see you? Suppose you're the rope. Will I actually ever see the trueness of you? Now, if I can't see you, the rope, will I communicate with you as you are? No. What will I be communicating with? Not you. And then how will you respond to me because of that? In a way that is going to make me as if there's something wrong with me or you. So I'm talking to you, the snake, but you're not a snake, you're a rope, okay? Why? Because I see you according to my ideas, what I want to see. I don't see you as you are. I see you as I project as I color you in. So this means whatever words come out of my mouth, it's not really speaking to you, it's speaking to not you as a person. Whatever ways I try to help you, oh, you're a snake, you know, you're slithery, oh, you know, you've got some shine, you got too much shine. So I buy you some, some black powder, try to, you're like, why do I need black powder, Andre? I'm not slithery. I'm not so, shiny. No, no, you are. Look at you. You're a snake. And then you get angry at me because you're actually this. You're a nice rope, they can tie me up, right? Sort me out. But I'm still talking to you at the level of the snake. So the first thing that I have to do is that if I really want to even take interest in the world, which is the rope, I first have to reduce my own subjectivities. And you and I have always all been through the situation where the person who is at the level of the snake, if you talk to them about the world, they simply take no interest. Because the snake is always more interesting, isn't it? Why? Because your mind always makes reality much better than it really is. It always embellishes reality in a way that the real reality cannot even compete with. Now, if the reality can't compete with your reality, your pratibhasika reality, then are you ever going to even inquire into the world? Where does Ishvara live, by the way? Here or here?
Both.
Yeah, but see, no, but who lives here? My imagination of God lives here.
Position.
You see,
Mind.
yeah, so in other words, my own idea of what God is away, God hates me, he's punishing me, or she's punishing me, or, it's just my karma. All of this is at the level of the snake. So if I really want to appreciate or have prasada buddhi, appreciate God as he is, I have to first reduce the snake and come to the reality. And this is the beginning of absolute tranquility. In fact, the whole relative tranquility was nothing but reduction of the snake to come to the rope. Kids are great at this, aren't they? Kids, little kids who are living in a world of their own. You say, hey, come back, come back to reality. And they're like totally daydreaming in their little world. And there's a whole real world happening out here, and they're oblivious to it. Now, adults do the same thing. In fact, today, most of politics is nothing but this. Most of politics. This is politics 101. You see, everyone's got their own opinion, right? And they're all fighting for their own snake. In fact, the world is, most of it is like this today. This is called subjective superimposition. I'm superimposing my stuff onto the world, therefore I don't see it. Therefore,
Andre,
yes.
even animals are better off when we come to this, because they are in their, they are not perceiving, because Vivek is not there. They're always in present, not thinking of future, because they can't think through, not thinking of the past, but always in the present, and therefore no delusion. Excellent.
So the dog is always at the level of the empirical world. That's why they're just natural. They just know what to do, know how to act. But see, then again, they can't even ask, what is my nature? So you have to kind of pay a price. The fact that you can say what is my nature, you also get the price of the snake. So this is where, so there's no real win. There's no best option in the world. If you're a dog, you're at the level of the rope. You're totally connected with Ishvara's program, but you can't elevate yourself. If you're at the level of the human being, you start out here, as we all do, and you have to reduce this, which is quite a lot of work. Only then you come here. So that's how it is. Nothing comes for free. So now, absolute tranquility means that you eventually come to see that your mind is now ready to assimilate the final knowledge that I am Brahman. What does this mean? It means that no matter what happens, I am always free of everything that I aware. So if you aware a condition in your mind, such as I am a intelligent person, you aware that. In the presence of you, that whole statement was aware. It was lit up. It was lit up. So whatever you aware, you are not that. For example, suppose I take this hand and we write, see, this is like your mind right now. Now, suppose I write the word love. This is your mind. The hand is your mind. I write the word love. Why do you see the word love on there?
Because there is a subject and there is an object.
Yeah, but suppose I just write the word love. Okay, I'm just gonna go extreme and just write love. Love. Why are you seeing this word love?
There's a contrast in color, right?
Because of the hand.
Why else are you seeing this word love right now?
Because of the
Because she wrote
background
it.
of your hand.
Okay, suppose I turn off the light in this room. Are you gonna see the word love? No. Okay.
Dims the light.
So you see the word love because of, see, now how come no one said this? So in other words, that which is so obvious we totally neglect, right? So the word love, I can now move around. I can write the word hate, okay? Totally opposite. And whatever I write on this mind, does that affect the light that is wearing these two words? Does that affect the light because of which these two words are seen? No. So this means like your mind, which is constantly generating words on its screen, such as I am like this, I am, right? I am love, I am hate, right? All of this narrative is constantly going on in your mind. None of those narratives contaminate that because of which the mind's conditions are known to you. None of that passes on to the light. None of that passes on to you, the illuminator of your mind. So in that sense, you start to recognize slowly that no matter what happens, the contents of my mind, what I think about who I am or who I am not, it has no consequence on who I actually am. I am that in whose presence the screen of the mind and the stuff of the mind gets lit up. It's shun. It's made to be known in my presence. Who is this I in this example? The light. Because of which you see the screen of your mind and the constant narratives that are happening in your mind right now. Even right now, as you're hearing my words, these words are constantly known to you. Why? Who is lighting up these words that this person called Andre is now saying? I am. That I is, in this example, is equivalent to the light. So no matter what I say to you, you are like this, you're like that, you're like that, the wise person understands that whatever is in the screen of my mind, it has no consequence on who I actually am. I'm simply the light in whose presence all conditions, all phenomena come and go. Whether I am like this or like that, it doesn't matter. They're just modifications of your mind. And your mind will never stop modifying itself because that's the nature of the mind. So now if you want to keep the word happy, you know, oh, I am happiness, happiness. This is not a permanent marker, so that's good. So now I'm happy. See, now what do you want to do? You want to extend your, right? I want to be happy forever, right? But the mind is not made to do that because 1 minute later, the happiness is gone. Now, you know, love is there. Then the love is there, gone. Now the hate is there. That's the nature of the mind. It constantly shifts and changes. Therefore, you can't make any condition stick forever. But what you can realize is that I am not a condition. What am I? That in whose presence conditions are known. Known to me, the light. Suppose we want to map this out to show us what else makes the wise person enjoy absolute tranquility. And I'm going to use a model of creation and map it out on the board. In Vedanta, we start out with the big vision. So you have to start with the big vision. So I don't want you to get caught up with these words because words are just there to, you know, you have to call something a word. That's not the point. The word is not the point. The point is understanding what everything means. The reality we call Brahman, and Brahman means that which is limitlessly big. That means there's no end to big. It's just limitlessly big. And we define Brahman as Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Ananda. So Sat means existence. Chit means awareness. And Ananda has two definitions. One of them is happiness, and the other is fullness. Fullness or limitlessness. Or another word, even better, is the only thing there is. That means it's not, it's all that is, all that is. So we'll say Advaita. Okay, Advaita. So Advaita just means it's the only reality there is. So there's no two Sat and Chits, there's only one Sat and Chit. And that word, Ananda, wants to say there's only Sat and Chit. There's no two of them. Okay. Now, Brahman has a capacity to manifest a universe. So capacity to manifest the universe. And we'll call this capacity for now Maya. Maya. And this capacity, so before I move forward, what do I mean by that? So suppose you're in deep sleep right now, you're sleeping. And while you're sleeping, a dream is going to come, is it not? Right? It will come in a few hours. Will you take any part in that dream? Are you going to like select a button and say, okay, I want the dream to start? No. So the dream is going to come of its own accord. Not only is it going to come of its own accord, where is that potential to dream while you are in deep sleep? It's in you, right? You, the being who is sleeping, there is a potential in you for an amazing world of variety to come. So in that sense, Brahman has this capacity to manifest a world. And this capacity is called Maya, and it has two powers. It's got Jnana Shakti, Jnana, some would say Jnana Shakti, I would just say Jnana Shakti. And the other is Kriya Shakti, Kriya Shakti. Okay, so Jnana Shakti means capacity or knowledge. That means the blueprint of creation. That means how the lakes will, how the water cycle will work, how the trees will grow, how your body will work together, how you're able to remember, how your heart will beat, in what way will the sun be connected to the solar system, how far the earth will be from the sun just to harbor the right life, how will the planets be arranged, how much is, how will gravity work, how fast will speed of light travel and the speed of sound, all of the micro details that makes the entire creation work, all of that is inside Jnana, knowledge. Knowledge. And Kriya Shakti, you have to have some force to put that knowledge together. So Kriya Shakti means the energy or the power, I'll say the energy to put this into effect. For example, suppose you have a scientist who has a lot of knowledge about physics. Is it not true for that knowledge to, in order for it to come out, you have to motivate the scientist has to have some power, some incentive, or not even incentive, just the general power to even open their mouth. Okay. So that Kriya Shakti is like that. So that's that force which projects the entire universe according to the blueprint of the universe, according to the Jnana. Okay. Now, what is the connection between Brahman and Maya? Very simple. So suppose you take a seed like that. It's an amplified seed. It's a big seed. What is inside the seed? Powder, right? But what is actually inside the seed? Can you see a tree inside the seed? No. Can you see the leaves inside the seed, the fruits? Can you see any complex intelligence inside the seed because of which that whole tree will come? You don't see it at all. So seed is compared to Brahman, right? The seed, that means the cause. And in that cause, there is a potential. There is a seed, right? We'll call that potential in the seed is called Maya. Okay. And we'll draw Africa here. We'll draw Australia, Russia, Europe, North and South America. So it's a very complex seed, right? So the whole world of potential is inside that seed. So in that sense, the seed can be called Brahman. The only difference is here is that what? Seed you can see, Brahman is the very subject. It's the very I am. And that seed has the potential to manifest the universe. Okay. Now, Maya, what it happens is it borrows existence. Remember, Sat means existence. That's how we define Brahman, existence. And it molds and shapes, as though molds and shapes that existence into names and forms. Names and forms. So what do I mean by that? Imagine a clay, just a bunch of clay, okay? I'm going to draw a clay here, okay? Just a block of clay. Imagine that clay has a special power inside itself to mold and shape itself into a pot like that, okay? You don't see that power inside the clay, but just imagine it has that power. So now you have an ordinary block of clay, and you just see this clay kind of magically just shaping itself, molding itself into a useful, functional name and form called a pot. Now, is the pot any different from the clay? No, not at all. So now, in that same manner, Maya molds and shapes. So this is all Maya, some structure. When that capacity, when it manifests, that means when this potential actually manifests into a tree, when that capacity manifests into a world, we call that world Jagat. Okay, which means time, space, and objects. That means periodic table of elements, water, fire, space, air, etc. Okay, called the Jagat. So right now, what are you experiencing? I mean, this whiteboard is the Jagat. This person who's looking at these words is the Jagat. Okay, it's just manifestations. So Jagat means that which is manifest. Is your head shaking? Looking at me right now, is it manifest? Yes, therefore it is Jagat. Okay. Now this Jagat has two kinds of objects. It has insentient, it has sentient. The insentient is water, earth, soil, air, space. So what do I mean by this? Well, the insentient doesn't have, what's the difference between a rock, by the way? We'll just put insentient rock. And a sentient is a jiva. Okay, now what's the difference between insentient and sentient? Subtle body. So this means the rock, even though the rock is Brahman and the jiva is also Brahman, the jiva has what's called a subtle body. So imagine like a mirror. And a mirror is a special kind of a matter that's able to reflect the nature of Brahman, which is awareness, which is why a rock, even though a rock is also the reality, like a rock or anything you put, it's the reality, and the jiva is also the reality. The jiva is able to say, I am. A rock cannot say, I am or I exist, because the rock doesn't have that reflective subtle body, that reflective mirror, which is able to say, I awareness am. I am aware of my existence. So what does the subtle body do? It allows you to know that you are aware. Whereas a rock also exists just like you, but the rock doesn't have the subtle body, therefore it doesn't know that it's aware. Okay. Now, this jiva, what does the word jiva mean? Jiva means self. So another name for Brahman is self. Self. Okay. Jiva takes self, that means takes self, Brahman, as being this much, having two hands, two arms, and a bunch of thoughts. Whereas when we add an extra word, Jivan Mukta, just one more word, Mukta. Mukta, what does that mean? Jivan Mukta. That means you still appreciate yourself as a clay, as a clay pot. But you know that your truth is nothing but the one clay, like the whole. That means it's not different from the whole. So therefore, just one more word, and that's called an enlightened person. Okay? If you remove mukta, that means that means self looks at itself as nothing more than a body or a mind. That means you just look at yourself as one single pot in the universe. Mukta means, yes, I can appreciate myself as a pot, but the truth of this pot is the very truth of everything, because everything comes from the one without a second. Now, when this jiva asks, who is the creator, destroyer, and the sustainer of this universe? Who is the creator, sustainer, and destroyer of the universe? What does the jiva answer? We create one more word, Ishvara. Ishvara. So what is Ishvara then? What does Ishvara refer to? Two definitions. Number one, Ishvara is Brahman, apparently conditioned, right? Just like clay, apparently conditioned by its power to manifest as a pot. So Brahman conditioned by Maya. So Ishvara is Brahman conditioned by Maya. So look at this. So it's not like Ishvara and Brahman are two different things. It's one and the same. And two, you can also say Ishvara is nothing but Maya manifesting. Manifesting. Okay, so in other words, this potential or this capacity, which is in potential, it's now manifesting, right? This potential is manifesting into a world. Okay. Now, here's the most important question. This is all theoretical. Now I'm going to ask you, how do you prove right now, in this moment, that all that is here is Sat and Chit? Because how do we start it out? We said that there is only one reality, right? Ananda or Anantam. There's only one reality right now, which is existence and awareness. So it's my duty to show you right now how all that is here is existence and awareness. Okay, look at this. Let's start out with this snake. Does a snake exist? Does your thought or your projection exist? It does, otherwise you wouldn't be mentioning it. Are you aware of your thought or your projection onto the world? Even if it's a false one, are you aware of it? Of course, otherwise you wouldn't get on a microphone and start a political session about it, right? So snake exists. Why? Because of awareness, snake awareness. Now, suppose you get rid of the snake. What comes next? Rope. Rope exists. Why does the rope exist right now? Because of rope awareness. Otherwise, you couldn't tell that the rope exists unless you're aware of it. Now, let's break down the rope. What's the rope made of? Cotton? Yarn?
Fiber, hemp.
Okay, I'm just going to say yarn. So actually this cotton, this rope, if you look at the particles of it, it's actually not rope. It's just yarn. Okay, it's made of smaller stuff. So now it's no longer rope. Now yarn exists because of yarn awareness. Let's get rid of yarn. What's yarn actually made of? How about molecules? Molecule exists because of molecule awareness. Get rid of molecules. What's molecules actually? Well, molecule is actually nothing but atoms. Atom exists because of atom awareness. Let's get rid of atoms because atoms are nothing but proton, neutron, and electron. Okay? Proton is because of proton awareness. Quark is because of quark awareness, and so on. So now, what has gone? What have we gotten rid of? We've gotten rid of snake. We've gotten rid of the rope, gotten rid of the yarn, gotten rid of the molecules. What exists throughout the entire inquiry? Existence awareness, existence awareness, existence awareness, existence awareness. Show me, is there a real, okay, right now we take a pot. Okay. Pot is, let's do one more example. pot is, why is this pot existing right now? Because I am aware of the pot, Andre. Okay. But actually, my dear, is this really a pot? No, it's clay. Okay, fine. We'll call it clay. Why is there clay? Clay exists. It gives existence to the pot, sure, because of clay awareness. Reduce it down, reduce it down, reduce it down. You can't find a pot here. Is this really a pot upon your analysis? Is this really a pot? Look at this. Is this a pot?
It appears to be.
Okay, but it's through your cognitive understanding. Is it really a pot now when I reveal the substance of what this actually is? Is it still a pot? Or suppose you say this is a pot. What do you really mean when you say this is a pot?
The form.
It's a form of what?
Clay.
Okay, now suppose, is this really clay? Suppose we agree with that. Is it really clay?
It is shape and form of something so minute that we really don't know what it is. Why
We
even
don't
you break it?
Okay. But the point is, no matter what you analyze this, what remains? Existence and awareness. Therefore, those two never leave. And that's what makes up all things. You show me one thing in reality where this doesn't apply. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I don't think you can. I had a question, just a question though, if you don't mind, just to make sure I understand. When you say clay awareness, molecule awareness, atom awareness, does that mean at each level, no matter what level there is, there's awareness, there's still awareness at each level? Is that
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, good. So the only problem with, see, when we get very small, then we start to kind of, yeah. So when we get small, it's better to stick with something large, right? Because then you can at least see it, right? At least I'm aware of the pot. I'm aware of the clay. I'm aware of the, the silica, right? So in that sense, if you could see it, it would always exist. But why does it exist, Kendall? It exists because there's awareness of the fact that it exists. You see?
There's even a concept as well. We're aware of that concept.
Exactly. And why does it, so in other words, concept exists. Why does a concept exist? Because there's the fact that the concept exists. There is awareness of the fact that the concept exists. Okay? So what I want to show this inquiry is that you cannot ever get rid of existence and awareness, because according to this chart, we've said that it is the only reality. And we have, in this sense, shown you how that is the case.
Now this exists because there's the perception. What when the life was not there? What when human beings and animals were not there? What when nobody was able to perceive the existence? The existence wasn't there.
That's not the point. The point is it is. So that's a hypothetical question. But even if there was nobody there to perceive it, the point is it would still be there.
But there was no consciousness. There was no. I will put it differently if you give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like what in the previous example that we were saying, now this might sound little outrageous, but there's no different way than I can put it. When we said, okay, the stone does not know, and we know because we have, Suksham Sharir. Now, is it very outrageous to say perhaps the stone knows, and we do not know the stone knows because it is Ishwar Shakti, Ishwar Shrishti, and if it is made everything out of Brahm, probably it's not our potential to know that it knows. Maybe it knows.
Okay.
So what I'm saying
All right.
What I'm saying is now this argument that we are making right now, that it exists because we perceive it. When there is no perceiver, there is no drishti srishti vad, that's we are talking. When there is nobody to perceive it, still it exists. So when there is nobody to aware through the antakaran, not through the consciousness, which is the basic which is the consciousness, but not the perceiver. When there is no perceiver, still it exists. So where does that example of that pot go? Where does it go?
Sure. I think the point is being missed. Let's just keep it simple. So all I want to demonstrate, see, even if you perceive it, why do you perceive the spot? Because you're aware of the spot. It doesn't matter what you perceive. The point is perception happens. Why? What does it mean when perception happens? It means that I am there. Because I am there, perception happens. So you can't ever get rid of the fact that I am there to perceive it. Whether I am there as a perceiver or not, it doesn't matter. Right now, are you perceiving, what, New Zealand? Are you perceiving New Zealand right now? No, it doesn't matter. But you're still perceiving, my face. What's the difference? If you're in New Zealand, I'll say you're perceiving Andre. No, I'm not, because I'm perceiving New Zealand. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is whatever you are perceiving, wherever you are, you're always perceiving that which exists. And why does it exist? Because in the presence of I, the universal I, Brahman, it exists because I am. It exists because I, aware for one, in the presence of me, it exists. So what I want to show specifically here is that two things in this inquiry always remain. Existence of a thing. Can you agree with that so far? Existence of a thing, and that I am there. No matter what inquiry takes place, no matter how small you go, you can't say that something exists unless you are there, unless you're aware of it. Let me put it this way, because you're still not catching on.
I'm not catching.
Yeah, I know you that. Let me just stop at the very simple level, and then we'll stop the session here. Okay. Forget about perception and awareness. I know you're mixing up perception and awareness. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that. Okay. So, does the pot exist?
Yes, it exists.
Okay. Why does it exist? How do you know it exists?
Because I can perceive it.
And why does your body, mind called Gautam, perceive this pot?
Because I have got Gyan Indriyas to see and my mind to analyze and find out.
No, remove the word I from the statement. Just why is this pot being perceived right now?
Because of the input
Okay.
to me.
Okay, so this information of the pot is going towards the eyes of Gautam, a body-mind instrument called Gautam, and there's an experience of this pot. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so definitely the pot exists. Okay. Now, why is there experience of this pot? Why is there experience in the first place?
Because my senses are looking outwardly, and
But how do you know that your senses are there? How do you know that this experience between you and I is taking place right now? Because you're there, Gautam. Because you're
yes, I'm there.
So now, what am I referring to when I say you? What am I referring to when I say you according to your understanding? You. What does that mean for you?
I, the conscious being.
Conscious being.
I the one who's experiencing it, and since I'm experiencing something else.
No. Stop. I, the conscious being, in the presence of me, there is a person called Gautam who is experiencing this pot. Do not mix the word don't call yourself experiencer, please. Because then you're mixing yourself with the body-mind. The body-mind is the experiencer. In the presence of me, there is an experience called Andre experiencing the pot. You see the difference, the subtle difference in my language? I don't say I am the experiencer. In the presence of me, awareness, there is a experience called Andre right now. There's an experience called Gautam right now having a conversation with Andre.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes. Through the body mind, which is called Gautam by the rest of the world, there is an experience of Andre in the screen.
Yeah, which is experienced in your mind. That's an experience in your mind. And who is the knower and what is the knower of that experience? The answer is always going to be I am.
I. Yes.
Because, okay, how do you know it's I? Because this experience between you and I, and I'm talking to everyone now, is going to end in 1 minute or 2 minutes. It's going to end. But what is going to stay? The very same awareness in whose presence this conversation between you and I is happening right now.
Yeah.
But the experience is going to be different, isn't it?
Yes.
When you go and have your chapati or your, your dosa, the experience is going to be very different. Gautam
Yeah.
is going to have a very different experience in his mind, in his thoughts, than it is right now. But there's an awareness now, and there's an awareness when this experience ends. So in that
Yeah.
sense, what remains? Awareness in every experience.
Yes. Yes, I got you.
Purnamadav, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnam eva avashishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.